Hello. Thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm good, thank you. So yeah, now I know that you know nothing. I can make up whatever I want, and we can get roasted in the comments. It's fine. This is for troubleshooting. I can hear you. Yeah.
All right, do we have audio now?
Uh,
I can't even see any comments. See, this is what happened when you get distracted with the like livey McFeedy thing and you forget to run up your comments. Because actually, I might not have any help in the cabin itself, but if Electra and everyone else, yay, thank you guys. Sorry. Yeah, Skype automatically kills this mic so that there's not like a looping thing, and I forget. I forgot all about it. Right, so
that's the only thing that's gone wrong. So other than that, it was perfect.
don't say things like that, man. For those that didn't get the intro, good
Everybody
morning,
buy
ladies and
me.
gentlemen. Welcome to the Dean Callan Show. This is Cabin Fever episode 53, or the Meadmosa episode. For those who don't understand what a Meadmosa is, well, you obviously don't drink as much as I do. I drink mimosas, mead, mimosa, meadmosa, right? And this is Samuel, or Sam Bolton.
Hello.
The Are you the owner of this, or?
Yeah.
All right, the owner of the Modern Mead Company, original English mead with citrus and spices, product of England, right? Which I'm super excited. My mouth is salivating now. I'm super excited to taste. I've had it in my fridge for like 2 or 3 weeks now, maybe even more.
Yeah. Well, since whenever class awards was,
God, months.
that was the last time I saw you.
Way before lockdown. So like I've had it sitting there, but I always I wanted to taste it live. And I wanted to do it in such a way that I could actually chat with you and share everything that I'm learning with everybody else. So, God, I can't believe that. That's so crazy. What's jumping? Oh, right. So that'll be the signal. Well, look, I'm going to keep rolling, okay? Anyway, where were we? We were going to talk about mead. Now, to cut to the chase, what is mead?
So
Like,
mead is the word mead isn't protected in the UK, so it's kind of got quite a broad definition. But the easiest way to understand it is it's any alcohol that is that is brewed from honey.
Okay. But so does it have like classification protection other places?
Yeah, so there's two places in the world that currently have protection. So America has protection, but again, it's very loose. The protection in America is that to be called mead, the 50% of the fermentable sugars need to be made from honey.
Okay, so
So
it's not 100%
51%,
honey.
sorry. So similar to bourbon, but instead of corn, it's got to be honey.
Okay.
And as far as I know, there may be other smaller kind of descriptive things that go into it, but that's the kind of the arcing property of it is basically how much of the content is made out of honey. And then the other place is Poland, which I have only been told by other people this one, so it's not something I've looked into personally. But yeah, in Poland it has to be, I believe, a minimum of 80% to be called mead.
Okay. So you got America needs to be 50%, Poland needs to be 80%. What is the common practice in the UK? Even if it's not protected, there has to be a kind of a unspoken standard. Am I right there or?
Yeah, there is and there isn't. The UK, it's really odd. So because we're behind America and Poland in terms of where their industries are, it's weird because we have like this really strong crowd for it, but then we have the kind of commercial crowd as well. So
Okay.
America's been like championed by the homebrew crowd, and they're all of the big arcing things in America. They want it to be 100%, even though the law states it has to be more than 50%. So you kind of have these two camps. You have the purists that believe it has to be 100% honey and nothing else, and you have the other crowd who kind of will follow most people in the UK follow the American standards if they're not 100%.
They couldn't just like have two different names for it, like a blended whiskey and a single malt whiskey, like.
Well, yeah, it's a very big conversation to basically the industry's not in a position yet where everyone can agree
Okay.
on, because some companies, for instance, Lime Bay, who are based down in Devon, they produce a very similar style to us, and they use 51%, and they've been producing for almost 30 years, and they sell something like 70,000 bottles of mead in the UK every year.
Oh wow. Okay, that's pretty big.
But then you've got smaller companies who only use 100% local honeys, and they believe that any sugar content or anything added into mead makes it an inferior product. But to me, that's the same as if you were to look at a whiskey and say we're only using 100% of one grain. That doesn't mean you're getting a better product at the end.
Yep, I see what you mean. Okay, so I'm now my mouth is watering so much I've had to have a glass of water. Can I taste this? And it can.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
So as you taste now, I'll just try and talk a little bit about what ours is, so you know what you're kind of trying. So we use 64% honey. So then that gives us 36% sugar that we add. And the reason we add the sugar adds a couple of different reasons. Honey is a natural product, so it's going to change batch by batch. So we buy a consistent blend. We then buy that, we mix that with the sugar, we ferment it. And during the fermentation, we add in cinnamon, clove, nutmeg, lemon zest, orange zest, and cardamom. And the way I describe it is it's a light spicing. And the reason that is we didn't want it to be a mulled mead. We didn't want it to be, you can warm this up.
Yeah, so you've gone, because I'm tasting it, and it's got the Christmassy, like, spices that you would expect to taste in, like, a mulled cider or something like that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
there's not enough
spicy.
of them for me to think I'm just going to heat that up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
so
interesting.
When you heat it up, basically, the hotter it gets, the more you're going to get those spices.
Yep.
And in reverse, when you put it into a cocktail and shake it, because the spicing's so light, it acts very similar to, like an Angostura or some kind of bitters. It helps to add a bit of body, but it doesn't. You wouldn't use this as a cinnamon flavored mead because it's far too light.
I'm trying to find a way that I can relate the flavor of this and describe it to people that can't, I can't send flavor to the TV.
Yeah, it is hard because I think the way I always tell people who haven't had mead is if you want to get to know it, you need to try mead. You need to drink mead.
Well, the thing is, what I'll say is the thing that struck me as soon as I poured it, I smelt honey straight away, and it's like it's not that candied, like the non-EU blended honey. Now, am I right to ask? I'm assuming you know a lot about honey. That there's a lot of honey that comes into the EU and America as well. Now that it's basically rice sugar, and they've like stripped all pollen out through China. Is that right?
Yeah. So
like a lot of it's fake.
Most honey that you have in the world is fake. And there's not really any way to do it. So if anybody's really interested in honey, there's a documentary on Netflix called Rotten, and they do different series about the industries of different things.
I've seen the honey one,
industry, but they do one on honey and bees, and it's really interesting to watch. It gives you a good base level of knowledge on it, but it's very it's an American standpoint on hating China, so it's quite biased.
Right, yeah. I didn't think about that because it's.
So I wouldn't take everything they say in it for gospel.
Because I just took it as it was the Germans, because it was the company in that program that got busted had a German CEO, right? And he jumped ship and left the people behind, dealing with the trouble, and went back to Germany where they don't have an extradition law for the US, which is what VW guys did when Dieselgate happened, and it seemed to be like a standard practice for big boss CEOs from Germany. I don't know. I thought it was anti-Germany, if anything, because China, you're like, oh, whatever, they're putting some rice sugar in their honey. But yeah, all right, let's move on from that. So it tastes like legit honey. It's got a nice sweetness to it from my point of view. It's got a citrus in it, or am I?
Yeah, so we use different ingredients that we use to flavour different things. So for instance, some of them are oils that we use, they're natural oils, whereas we don't use the raw ingredient, whereas some of them we use the raw ingredient. We put flavour first before using the physical raw product. We wanted to get the best for the taste.
Okay, can I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what the difference is between Polish mead and Krupnik? Do you know Krupnik?
From what I understand, I'm not 100% sure on the regulations for mead in Poland, but from what Krupnik is flavoured vodka, from what I understand.
Okay.
So if there's any distillation involved really in any of the parts, you wouldn't call that mead anymore. The ABVs for mead tend to stop around about 12. In the UK they stop at about 14.5, but in Poland they can go up to about 18 and a little bit higher. But there's no real. That's normally done via tax reasons, though. It's not really done to be
because there's no real controls.
Yeah, as far as I know, anyway. I can't speak too confidently about the Polish regulations because I'm not clued up enough on their regulations for it.
Okay, so back to this. You've got some citrus in it. You've got, what are the other spices again? Sorry.
Cinnamon, clove, nutmeg, orange zest, lemon zest, and cardamom.
And so there's no actual acids from the orange. It's just the zest.
Yeah, it's oils. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so that was one thing that when we designed it, we, for those who don't know, I own a cocktail bar and meadery in Birmingham, hence the interest in mead. And we looked at what we sold and what was across the market, and we just wanted to pick out things that we picked out flavour points that we thought was missing, and citrus was definitely one of them. A lot of the brands that do use citrus, they don't come out very citrusy.
Yeah,
that was one of the key points for us to add in.
Okay. Cool. Well, I think it's delicious. So, I don't know how to explain this to everyone, but it's way tastier than I thought it was going to be. No offense.
You're not. I get that all the time.
You never know with things, but yeah, it's really, really nice. I do get a Christmassy feel to it, though.
The best way I describe mead to people is there's a massive spectrum in mead. There are things that are like. There are things that are made in the traditional champagne method. There are things that are made in the same way you would cider. There's things that's made like beer. as I'd say, is closest in terms of flavour to a honeyed dessert wine.
Yeah, exactly. So I've just got, is it a liqueur? Is it a spirit? How much is the ABV? So guys, the ABV is 10%. And if I were to describe it, I would say it tastes like a honey wine. But it's drier than a Rankin or something like that. But so it's not as sweet as you would expect, like a Rankin or something else, or a Choya plum. But it's along the kind of flavor profiles or mouthfeel of a wine.
Yeah,
at 10%.
I think going back to that question, it's the premise of the question is it like a liqueur or anything like that? I think it's trying to understand that mead is its own category on its own because it's a brewed beverage from honey.
Mm.
So, for instance, if it was a distilled beverage from fruit, you would bang that into pretty much brandy and eau de vie.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas because this is distilled, it doesn't fall into that category when it's brewed. And most brewed things get broken down into, are they a wine, are they a cider, a beer, and so on, sake and stuff like that. Mead is its own category, similar to sake. And the easiest way to describe sake is to call it a rice wine, and that's why people call mead a honey wine.
Okay, yeah, because that would be the easiest way for me to describe it to someone.
But with that, though, there comes a couple of other caveats. So, for instance, mead is broken down historically into many different Latin variants. So, for instance, like the Latin name for this would be a metheglin. So, if you were to categorize it on to other mead drinkers, they would call this a metheglin, which means a spiced mead.
Okay.
But then you've got hydromels, which are meads that add water, which we add water to this to bring the ABV to a drinkable level. And there are loads of different classifications. Again,
so it's a methadone hydrocol or something like that. It sounds like a Class A drug.
Yeah, it'd be a hydromel metheglin. Yeah.
So who comes up with these names?
The Latin people.
Okay, I guess yeah. Old
I
people.
wasn't around. But then there's one called a piment, which is so you have to think like mead is the oldest alcoholic drink going. So the first findings of alcohol was 9,000 BC in China, and you like to make alcohol. I don't want to teach people to suck eggs here. To make alcohol, you need simple sugar, and you need water. So where the only place in nature you find water and simple sugar together is honey. So it's no wonder that mead was the first thing, because things like saps and maple syrups and
but does honey not? I thought honey doesn't go off. Like
honey doesn't spoil.
Okay, but it'll ferment if you add a little extra water. It'll ferment. Is that right?
Yeah. So the current belief that the way that we as humans found alcohol was, we know that, we believe that people found honey by seeing other animals go into hives. So we'd see like bears and other animals going in, and they obviously went, there's something good in there.
Yeah.
So we figured out how to get hives. It was the Egyptians that figured out how to get bees to make hives where we want them, but that was way later. So people were scaling up cliffs or wherever, trees and wherever the hives were, harvesting the honey. And they believed basically that if any water got added to it, or if it rained or whatever it was, that would then put the conditions in place for yeast in the air to ferment.
Yep.
And that's where we developed and figured it out from. And then, but even now, if you look at mead spread around the world, really, but mostly people claim because of the Vikings. Now, if you look at different places around the world, so for Mexico is a great instance. There's tribes in Mexico that produce mead. But they ingest honey, chew it in their mouth, and spit it out.
Yeah, and like they do with the agave.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was they do that, and that adds the nutrients in your mouth good enough for it to ferment as well as the liquid.
Wow.
And even in Ethiopia, they have a famous drink called tej, which is a brewed honey beverage, and it pops up all around the world.
I love this. I'm so happy about this because I didn't know about the Ethiopia Tej thing. Didn't know about the Mexican tribe thing.
Yeah.
I think we should do a part 2 already. I think we're going to run out of time.
Most people think when they think mead, they think Vikings. And the reason that is because it's believed that Vikings chose mead over anything else for a couple of different reasons. One, the Vikings were travellers, so they would move to land, pillage, and do their thing.
Yep.
And the reason that they would choose mead over anything is, one, mead doesn't spoil half as bad as wine and ale.
Yeah.
So you can hold it in barrel back in the day for a lot longer than you could a wine or a beer.
Mm-hmm.
So, but also, if you just shored up onto the shores of the UK, or back then, if you shored up into Britain, you don't have grapes. So if they wanted to produce alcohol, they would find tribes, and again, the only thing that they knew they could make alcohol from was honey. So they would send people out to find honey.
Oh, you can always find honey, right? There must have been a lot of bees back then.
The Romans had already laid down vines around the world at this point, but the Vikings would always find honey. It's already in liquid form. It's ready to go. So they would teach a lot of people to make mead for them.
Yeah.
Otherwise they killed them. So that's one of the most believed stories at the moment as to the history of it. So it got popularised by the Vikings. But then, if you look even now, still, if you're a hot country, then they tend to have no real recent history in mead. So, for instance, Italy, Spain, and France, they
ditched mead ages ago.
Grapes.
Mm.
So it's much easier to pick grapes than it is to harvest honey. And obviously, the yields from vines are much bigger than they are from hives.
So I don't mean to interrupt too much, but I do want to make this drink.
Yeah.
So with your help, I not that I've got it on the back, but you're not shaking this or anything, right? It's literally written on the back.
So the idea for the Meadmosa was, one, everybody loves a pun. But two, we wanted to have something that most people have access to, because again, we know mead isn't on bars, but if I walked into a bar to sell this to somebody, chances are we need to make, have a showcase drink that they can make quickly with what they have.
Yeah.
So the Meadmosa was developed. So we do 2 parts of our mead. You can use other meads, but again, the sweetness differences and the flavour differences will change the drink. We then do 1 part of, I prefer like freshly squeezed orange juice, but no bar has that, so a decent quality orange juice will be fine. And then 3 parts of your choice of sparkling wine. I personally prefer drier stuff, but some people prefer sweeter things. But again, it's all on personal preference to balance with the orange juice and stuff however you want. But we made it as kind of...
You'd have it in a bigger glass than that, wouldn't you, really?
Well, we normally serve them in like a flute.
Flute, yeah, that's what I was thinking. I made a mistake. You wouldn't put ice with it?
You can if you want. It depends how quickly you're going to drink it. The longer you do it, it's quite a light drink, so...
It's going to disappear.
Too long.
It's going to disappear. If the flavour of the mead is anything to go off, this is going to disappear. In fact, I'm almost tempted to invite Electra out here to have some of this, but I'm not going to drink the whole bottle today.
I do. So the only other thing really, I think...
It's great.
Good, thank you.
What would you normally garnish it with?
It depends really. Like a spritz of orange or lemon zest on the top's nice. Something crisp and clean, like a slice of pear or a Granny Smith's apple with a bit of acidity, kind of works really nicely.
Oh. Okay.
But I think it's a good barbecue drink. If you're making a jug of Pimm's, this is a better alternative.
I see it as like
that, wouldn't I?
Christmas, man. I could just sit all day on my, a couple of weeks that we have off over Christmas and drink that with the family.
Do you have one of the, the milk frother jug things that you can get where you pour the milk and press a button?
Yep.
If you have one of them...
I have these for my hot toddies and things. And have you had a hot buttered rum with this?
Yeah, we have them in the bar. So at Christmas, if you pour like a 125ml measure in there, whiz it up, and you get so much more of the spices. It was never really something we thought about as like a mulled mead thing, because it was just not something we ever considered doing, but it works incredibly well.
Do you put bitters or anything in it, or just as it is?
The brand launched mid last year, and this is like a Christmas mulled mead. It's a much better alternative. I personally hate mulled wine. I always think it's cheap wine and overly spiced. It never tastes great. Whereas to me, I think this is a great alternative.
Man, I'm excited at the thought of this mold. So you just do that, No added spices, nothing extra.
No,
Have you tried making like a hot buttered rum with it?
not yet.
Throw a
So we
knob of
did a
butter in?
couple of. No, we haven't done anything with like that yet. We've done hot chocolates and stuff with it. And this, for
Meadmosa.
instance, this year we did like we've tried like mead foams and all sorts with it over the time. But it's one of them like we always get close to Christmas and think, crap, we're behind. We should do some more. But once we tried it warm on its own, it kind of it was we liked it as is, so we didn't mess with it too much.
So how is the brand going? Like this is your first foray into building a brand, or?
Yeah, so like we're still in our infancy. Like we're still the mead is a side project or started as a side project to the bar. And it's slowly grown. Like what we didn't want to do was kind of force it out there too hard. But yeah, so we're getting quite happy. Like what I think we're trying. The main focus for us is to educate people on what mead is, whether it's our brand or somebody else's brand. But the more mead you can try, again, there's such big variation in the category that we just kind of want to get more people trying it and drinking it. So
It does taste a bit sweeter that way.
mm,
Like if I were gonna do it, I'd probably like if I was gonna do it at Christmas, I'd probably just slice up a lemon and put a
yeah.
bunch of cloves in it. So because like it's my brain. I'm old.
A really small splash of gin works really well as well.
Oh, really?
Juniper and honey is a really
Oh,
historical blend. So if you've got something like a nice London dry, yeah, that'd be perfect.
well, Dodds has honey in it.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yep, that's why I grabbed
Yeah,
Dodds.
a teeny splash of that in there should just it dries it out that little bit. Because like you said, the sweet just grows a little bit as you get it warmer. Whereas the gin will dry it out. Juniper and honey's been a huge historical pairing as well. So enjoy.
Man, that is amazing. Like, see the smile on my face? That's because now I have a new thing. All right, so Babs and Steph, if you're watching, and obviously Electra, Christmas sorted. These I could drink these, especially when it's colder. This all day. Happy days. I'm so happy about this. Yeah. So, any questions from the people out in live TV land now that we've got audio and everything working? The only thing I would ask is how much are you charging for this, and where can you get it?
Retail or wholesale? So retail, it's kind of about $18.99.
Yeah, only say retail. Don't say the wholesale price because then people who don't get wholesale, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
I don't know who watches.
well, if there's bartenders watching, just be like, hey, we'll comment
Message
with
me for information.
exactly, yeah, and then you can give them a good price.
Yeah, so you can get it from Master of Malt. He's kind of one of our best online retailers, Distillers Direct. It is available on Amazon. The Meadboutique.com, which is a specific mead retailer. So if you want to look at other
Oh
meads
wow!
as well as ours, the Meadboutique.com is a really good alternative. They've got like information, and you might see my face appear a couple of times on different pages.
So you're going to be like the mead ambassador to the UK? Is there other people that are big mead heads? Mead heads?
So I mean, we it was never the plan.
Yeah.
To become that guy, but it just kind of happened over time. And I still get people look at me now like, are you sure that mead's what you want to do? And it's not until people like yourself, when you actually try it and see it, that you wouldn't kind of start to understand it a bit more.
I'm just amazed at how nice that tastes. Like, I love honey.
I think people are just kind of perceiving me as doing something weird for the sake of doing something weird, but
No.
I genuinely think it's got legs. I just think it's got to be put in the right way to bartenders and owners and, cocktail creators. The one thing I'd say as well, if you are going to mess with this in a cocktail, so somebody earlier mentioned, is it like a liqueur? Now, it's not technically as sweet as a liqueur.
There's a couple more questions,
really
if you're up for it. So, do you know any classic cocktails that would have mead in them as a base ingredient?
I am yet to find any that have classic ones, and I think
All right.
the reason
We
that
need to
is
hunt.
because mead has been in and out of use and popularity. I think when most of the classic cocktails came about during the Prohibition era, mead was just not in fashion. So I don't think that the bottles ever got into. I don't think until really now, bartenders have had accessibility to multiple mead brands and so on.
Yeah.
That being said, honey is used quite a lot, but obviously the big one being the bee's knees. So if you are mixing, the difference between the liqueur is much sweeter and will travel flavour a lot heavier. You know, if you're using a creme de cassis or framboise, whatever, you're only going to put in at most 20 ml. Whereas what I always say when you're taking a bottle of sweeter mead for the first time, because it isn't as sweet as a liqueur and it isn't as powerful in flavour, that you want to start with doing split bases. That's kind of the best. If you want to do a honeyed old fashioned, start with a split base of mead and whiskey and go from there.
But what would you? How much would you put? Because I think whiskey would obviously challenge that quite heavily, no?
And as long as you get the split base, it's very rare that anything gets overpowering. You can put something quite ballsy. We've done a mellow corn old fashioned with this before.
Wow.
Like it holds its own. But the thing is, I get recipes sent to me all the time, and I love it when people send me recipes.
I'm having a lot of people ask me to make some drinks on this. I've been asked to make a bee's knees.
Yeah, have you got lemon juice?
That's the one thing I don't have. I just tried to call my wife and say, can you bring the lemons in from outside? I've got lime. Also, Sergio Lianza. Do you know Sergio Lianza from Lianza Bonanza and the Funky Dory Bar?
No.
Well, he suggested he's got a cocktail that has mead in it, by the looks of it, in his bar.
So does, I believe, Blind Pig have got a drink on their menu with it as well.
Can you frost distill mead to make kind of like a honey jack? And what type of honey is used? There's a lot of questions, actually. Sorry, man.
If you distill it, it's not mead. It's a honey-based spirit. Then at that point, so any form of distillation or strengthening, it stops being perceived as mead. Now, legally, you could call it mead in the UK because there's not enough regulation, but the general perception from the people that buy it wouldn't see it as mead. And in terms of the honeys that's used,
sorry,
there are mental varieties that you can use. Honeydew honey, which is it's a very borderline what it is.
Thank you.
Because it's made from a very specific time of day.
Wait, honeydew honey?
Yeah, so it's when the water falls and lands on plants, and then the bees collect that. So it's from my understanding anyway, it's a more watery honey than you would normally get.
How is someone following bees around, making sure that they're only collecting pollen when there's dew on it? Like,
I think it's to do more with the areas that they're in, to how they behave. So for instance, if you buy lavender honey that's real lavender honey and not flavoured, you're gauging from the flavour and the fauna in that area that it's predominantly going to be lavender.
Okay.
So it doesn't mean that they've only ever just visited lavender plants. It just means that locally, most of what they will visit is lavender, and when you taste it, you'll get more lavender.
Okay.
But I mean, there is such a mad. I wish I brought more now to show you, but there's a mad variety now. There's a company called DK Meadery who are making what's called a braggot, which is they're basically making a Guinness, but it's a mead.
A Guinness stout, like a mead stout.
Yeah.
Dude,
so
no, you're kidding me.
They make it.
Oh, how do I not know about this? What?
There's loads. There's the industry's growing. The industry's doubling year on year currently in its size.
Wow.
It's there is the English Heritage Company alone sells 52,000 bottles a year, which is one every 10 minutes for the entire year.
That's insane.
The national what they're called, not the English Heritage, the one that looks after the trees. National Trust.
National Trust.
They also sell mead now. Like I said, there is online retailers specifically for mead. And you're not even tapping into the kind of the Viking and pagan culture that we still have in the UK, which is quite predominant. Glastonbury have a mead tent every year, and always have.
Oh yeah, I knew about the mead tent at Glastonbury actually. Okay, I think maybe it's one of those things like I didn't until you brought it directly to my attention. it wasn't something that I was like kind of having a conversation about. So it wasn't front of mind, if that makes sense. There's always,
I don't think anybody has until they meet me now. It's very rare. Like you have to distinguish as well what's good and bad, because like I said, you can buy meads on the market which are white wine, vodka, and honey mixed together.
okay.
And you know, like if you go to Lindisfarne, that is what they do, and it says it clearly on the label. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that. It's a very historical way of making it, because not everybody had the knowledge to ferment. If you didn't know how to ferment, you just buy cheap wine and mix it with honey until you got something that's tasty-ish of mead. So there's a lot of different things out there, and there's a lot of stuff that you know, it's just getting to know what is out there. Like again, I think the Mead Boutique's the best UK-based information site. Because they've got a breakdown of every style of mead. I think it's about 14-ish styles.
And it's just called themeadboutique.co.uk.
Themeadboutique.com, yeah.
.com. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, man. I've had you on here for ages. We've asked. There's a lot of questions. One was,
Yeah,
are you able to sell it outside of the UK? Like, are you sending it anywhere?
not currently. I'd like to be, but we're not. Yeah.
Not yet. Okay, but the plan is to grow it, right? Because there's people from all over the world. Medieval festivals and stuff like that. Have you kind of hit those people up? Game of Thrones crowd.
That is where 90% of the mead in the UK is sold.
Really?
So it's kind of it's just very competitive markets. So we're trying to take mead to the masses. There's no point selling it to the people who know about it. I want more people to understand what this is and why it's good.
Yeah. Well, man. It tastes amazing, right? If I could send flavor to people. So my dream is to one day, for society. I know other people might think this is horrible. For society to get to a stage where you could opt in to having a neural lace, right? So you could basically, instead of having to have a mobile phone, right now, if I wanted to call Electra, in my mind I could be like, call Electra. And in the background of my brain, I'd still be looking at you, talking to you, kind of doing the show.
Isn't that a Black Mirror episode?
Yeah, there probably is a Black Mirror episode, but like, I watched a couple of episodes of Black Mirror and just lost my mind with it because, for example, the one I lost my mind on, the guy had the technology built into his eye, where everything is recorded, and they could rewind it back,
I know that one.
and he catches his girlfriend cheating on him or something. And they had all that tech, but like they focus on one thing, and that one thing is so far advanced that it's like astronomically different. But the mindset of all the people and the cars and the way they cook food and their clothes is current. So they're looking at one
That's
thing.
What makes good TV.
No, it doesn't. To me, it doesn't make good TV because I'm like, right. So they've taken one thing that could happen in the future, but they've applied, like, say, for example, mobile phone technology, right?
Yeah.
If you went 1,000 years into the past and then called someone, right? And there's a video, Scott, they'd think you were a witch and kill you. That's some dark shit, right? But, like, to me, that's not good TV because it's like, well, obviously, society hasn't built a kind of understanding yet. But you know what I mean? So I'm watching all the other tech not being right, and I'm like, oh, they need to create worlds so that I can like actually dive into it. Because the whole time I'm like, why do they have one piece of tech that's way advanced? And look, they're still doing this. They're still driving petrol cars. It drove me crazy. Anyway, where were we before Black Mirror? Anyway, neural lace. I'd be able to send someone a message with just thinking it, and they would get it. And I'd be able to send out flavors. I'd be people that tuned in would be able to get the sensation of flavor that we're getting from this show. But
imagine that technology, how that would transfer to cooking shows. Imagine
Bake
Off with that.
No, do you know? So I was asked a couple of days ago, what job would I like my son to have when he grows up, right?
Yeah.
Now, video games, the way you play PlayStation, and like now it's starting to get to virtual reality, and they have to think about the movement of the head and where everything goes and everything like that, right?
Yeah.
Imagine we get to a stage where you can plug in like the Matrix into a computer and then like go on holiday. You haven't left your house, you haven't moved anywhere. It's like Ready Player One, but fun, right?
Yeah.
It's not doesn't have to be a video game. You can go and just chill out. So I wanted, like I said, the job I'd like for Axel to have is to be someone who designs experiences so that when people plug in, he's designed a holiday and he gets paid tons of money to be a designer of the most amazing experience, you know?
Imagine the horror versions of that.
I know, right? But some people like horror. Some people like scary shit.
Experience, they're a thing now. You're just adding the virtual reality bit into the plugin.
All right, so I think, hi everyone. I think I'm going to let you go. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut to like Mitch's minute because I have all the ingredients to make Sergio's drink except for sage. So I'm going to swap out the sage for mint, but the mint is outside in my barrel of mint. So,
okay, cool.
Mate, honestly, I can't thank you enough for this because this has been way better than I could have expected it to be. And you've been amazing at answering questions, just straight up off the tongue. So hopefully one day you can come sit here and we can do a cross-category, promote Mead in general.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
You know, in real life.
If anyone's got any questions, just, Facebook, ping me messages. I'll answer as best I can.
All right, rock and roll. Thank you so much, man. You've been an amazing amazing guest. Yeah.
Cheers.
Thank you. And this is delicious, by the way. So I'll be definitely buying more of this. Thank you so much.
Cheers. See you later.
Cheers, man. Thank you. All right, guys. I thought I'd let him off the hook because he's literally been on the phone with me for 50 minutes now and he's got work to do. So to close out the show, before I make another drink, I'm going to go get some mint from the garden. But in the 1 minute that it takes for Mitch's minute, I'm going to try to run out into the garden and get some mint to make a twist on Sergio's drink, right? So I'm trying, Sergio. I'm doing my best, but I don't carry sage in the bar all the time. So Mitch's minute. Mitch's minute number 53, right?
Who's the Batman to my right? Why wouldn't I be Batman? I don't think that's really indicative of my leadership style. I definitely go for I try to create more of a Statler and Waldorf type of environment where the guys and the girls are geeing each other up. Why are there tins in your sink? Why isn't this clean? You're too slow. All of that. The king of that and the funnest person to be there behind the bar with that for like back and forth banter is Luke Reddington. The guy's a monster, but if I could do it with somebody else, I think me and Giuseppe Gonzalez, who I don't know very well, I've met a couple of times, do a really good job of it. Just a no nonsense, fuck you, get on with your job sort of thing. I think Giuseppe and I would make a pretty good Stellar and Waldorf.
Okay, sorry, the meat that I use at the bar is like a beer. It's like 5.5%, right?
Yeah, I figured. But you know what, dude? Like, I'm still going to make like a mojito-y style thingy.
Yeah, you can top it up with soda instead.
Yeah, there you go. See?
Yeah, a little bit less meat and top soda.
Okay. I love that you, like, to make sure that the drink was made correctly, you called me while I'm live and started questioning, like, the breakdown. I'm going to make a completely different drink in honor of you. Does that make sense? Thank you, brother. I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you, bro.
Bye. So, of all the, like, I love Sergio Leanza so much. He's just such a sweet guy. He just called me while he knew I had that 1 minute and started like questioning, what is the mead like? What's the alcohol percentage? Is it sparkling? Ooh, okay, well, the mead I use, because he knows that when I start substituting things, I'm not going to be making the drink the way he would make it, and he's such a perfectionist. And I left him on the phone and then went back live. I'm not sure if everyone caught that. So yeah. Anyway, what happened to my music? There's usually music in the background. What a weird thing that the music is cut out. And that one's way too tall. Get my Choppy McChop face. Where is he? Also, over the weekend, I really started using my amazing stamp. I love my stamp. I've nicknamed him Stampy. So good. So good. All right. So he said 80, but I'm going to put 80 mils of mead. So it's got the same basic flavor base, but what Sergio would do in his is that he would use a mead that's a sparkling mead and a lot more like a beer. This is flat and more like a wine, but it's still delicious. So like sparkling or not, so there's no sugar in this one. There is sugar in this one. Could be a bit sweeter, but you know what? Haven't got the mint in it yet, so I'm going to add a little mint. So it's not a funky dory one of these things. It's not quite up to that level, but I thought I would at least attempt to make one of the drinks that was being suggested. And in the future, I will buy another bottle of this, and we can do another little episode where we actually try out some of the drinks. If I got the budget in the future, if I get a big contract and I make a ton of money, I'll get some more of them so I can send them out. But how good was Sam? What a legend. And you can feel the passion for mead there as well. It's one of those, like, you know, amazing things when you come across someone that really cares. Tastes great. How could you go wrong? Right, so I'm not going to get the music working again. And because it's so quiet, it feels like everything's off. Like it's not working anymore. Speaking of which, and there's Sam answering people's questions. So Sergio, love you, brother. This is still tasty. Maybe we'll do another episode where we feature your drink and then do twists on it. That'd be great. You know, when we're able to actually socially interact, I'll get you in here making it. But before I finish up, because I planned on it being a half-hour episode max, and it's already been almost an hour. Before I finish up, I just want to end with one last little thing. Today, Fab, if you know Fab, Fab is amazing. Fab from Reka released another great video. And you know what? When I was a brand ambassador, I think one of the most effective tools I had, and you know, if you follow the show, you might have known this. I always wanted to be a copywriter when I was a kid, right? Before, like bartender or copywriter, one or the other, or helicopter pilot or stealth assassin, you know, like some military sort of thing. I thought I would have been good in the military, but apparently I don't take well to being told what to do. So, and you know, that's still true. Anyway, moving aside from that, Fab made this amazing video, and it included the bar average guys, whom I love. So I thought I'd end the show with that video. I'm still going to say goodbye at the very, very end. But yeah, check out this video. It's so cool. Just love it. Love it. Or don't check it out. Oh no. It's why do this to me, stupid computer? Open that one. Oh, come on.
I've been a real bad boy on the town all night. Starting to calm down with the morning light. I'm in the dirt, down in the dirt.
Yeah, butter! Obviously, you can't tag a friend in the comments below on this program, but follow him. He's awesome. I just absolutely loved that video so much. It made me really smile. And you know what? Like, if you're a brand ambassador and you nail that kind of like engagement piece and getting like videos out there, they last a lifetime. The videos that I did years ago are still there. So I'm actually now tempted to kind of revisit them because it's been so long on the show. I might do one of my videos from back in the day promoting Monkey Shoulder. Right. Speaking of which, Daniel Kaisen recommended that I make an outro for the show. So I made a new intro. You might have missed it. There was a new intro on the show. I made a new intro so I could make an outro. Right? And this is my outro. This is the new intro backwards. Outro button. Thank you all so much.